The Canadair Regional Jet, or CRJ family, is a series of aircraft developed and built by Bombardier since 1991. Starting out life as a Challenger 600, it was lengthened and converted into a commercial aircraft for shorter regional routes. 1,825 have been built as of March 2017. Virtualcol, who are known for their low budget and easy to use packages aimed at newer simmers, released their CRJ Series Pack in June 2017, which included every variation of CRJ, albeit the 100, which was the exact same as the 200 with modified engines, and over 100 liveries included. In this review, I will be taking a closer look at the aircraft and giving my overall verdict on what this package has to offer the user. When installing from FS Pilot Shop, you are given a zip file. Unzip the pack and you will find two installers, one for FSX and P3D, and the other specifically for P3D version 4. There are two user manuals, again FSX and P3D and P3D v4, and a readme file which explains the contents of the package. No key is required for install, just follow the installer and the package will be ready to play. The models are made to represent the NG version of the CRJ series, which included a modified nose cone, aerials on the roof and belly of the plane, more efficient engines, lowered landing gear and more. The exterior also includes clear windows with a passenger cabin modelled directly into the aircraft. Textures are done in a 2K resolution and include specular mapping which defines finer markings and detail across the body of the aircraft. This package also comes in 101 different liveries. This represents all of the airplanes that were at one point owned by Canadair Regional Jet in their fleet, modern and historic. Lighting is also generally quite good across the board. The different lights are in their correct locations on the body and are effective with the model where they are located. There used to be an issue with the strobes which blinks too fast, but this was recently patched to their correct speed. Night's lighting, however, is disappointing to say the least. On the aircraft body, they are not dynamic and are dealt with by solid textures, activated by pressing L on the keyboard or via the dome light switch in the cockpit. These textures themselves are towards the unrealistic side, taking away from the overall realism of the package. One thing Virtualcol do deserve praise in, however, is how light this aircraft is on the processor, and therefore essentially no impact on the FPS. FSX can be a pig to run sometimes, especially in heavily populated areas that the game tries to run off a single core on your computer, meaning that an aircraft that doesn't kill your frames does help you out in more ways than you can think. Virtualcol have also modelled their own cockpit for the aircraft, and all I can say is that this looks really good. The 2K resolution textures make for a realistic looking aircraft, with high detailing in the model, including specular mapping and large details made directly into the model. There are some light animations throughout the cockpit too, including switches and buttons. The yoke features realistic movements, including modelling that matches that of the real aircraft. The CRJ yokes also feature a clipboard and reading lights used for pilots in low light conditions. Night lighting within the cockpit is also fantastic. Virtualcol attempted a more dynamic style of lighting within the cockpit of the CRJ series aircraft, and it looks absolutely fantastic. These are activated by selecting the dome light switch, which is inaccurate, but the night effects it includes definitely are. The textures that surround each panel also attempt to make the cockpit look like they emit light, which is effective in making the aircraft look realistic. The only thing, however, this doesn't allow the user is to change the display brightnesses. If this can be added, then I'll have no complaints about the night lighting within the cockpit of this aircraft. It's not perfect, however, where in some cases Virtualcol have put the text on some buttons directly into the model, before proceeding to overlap this with more text, which looks really out of place. This doesn't look great by any stretch, and in my opinion should be removed for the textured text. In terms of functionality, it's what you expect from a non-high fidelity aircraft. The basic functions do work as they should, not all of it accessible from the virtual cockpit, meaning that the 2D panels are useful. The end result leaves us with an acceptable cockpit which can be used by any average simmer with no major learning curve. The majority of the clickable switches are functional and do work as they should. This includes the overhead panel where 90% of the switches are clickable and will work with the ICAS display where warning messages such as packs being switched off, DCS tie being closed and fuel pumps inoperable and more. Many switches will also not affect the actual flight dynamics in any way. For example, the hydraulic switches. When switched off, this doesn't change the aircraft's functionality or control in any way, but a warning message will be displayed on the PDF. Another example of a dummy switch in the aircraft is the autopilot turbulence mode. This does prove that the aircraft is low fidelity, but an extra to have this minimum functionality, giving the user some control over their aircraft and teaching new simmers to follow basic checklists. A dummy FMC has also been included. This does not feature system stars, but will allow pilots to program their own routes and legs within it. The FMC will also display basic aircraft information and ILS for departure and arrival airports. On the left and right side of the cockpit, there is also a panel which allows the pilots to adjust the flight displays on their aircraft settings. These include the ICAS modes, such as map and RMI, and display formats, including airport locations surrounding the aircraft and a terrain mode. There were problems with the original version of this package, such as the ICAS display showing engine information in yellow when in reality it should be in green, and the backup artificial horizon being broken, but after contacting the Virtualcol support, these were quickly updated and patched. This shows that progress is definitely being made with this add-on, with full developer support behind it. Virtualcol have used a modified version of the default CRJ sounds within this package, replacing some of the default FSX sounds with some of their own recordings. Modified sounds include an engine startup and shutdown, different spool stages and interior sounds. From the virtual cockpit, the new sounds are of a high quality and does suit you in the position of the pilots and suit you the overall feeling you get from this aircraft. Many sounds do however come from the Embraer 170, which shares the General Electric CF34 engine, meaning these sounds will not vary too much, the main difference being the fact that the E170 has wing-mounted engines, while the CRJ aircraft are all rear-mounted, meaning sound sources could potentially be different. Extra sounds such as a co-pilot call-out during takeoff has also been included, which tops off what is already a fairly high-quality model from Virtualcol. The flight dynamics of this aircraft I would say are very 50-50 to say the least. All of the aircraft in this package feel similar and in some aspects don't match the real aircraft's capabilities. The CRJ 200 is especially known for sometimes struggle in climbing with a 10-degree pitch rotate at 2,000 feet per minute once it reaches 10,000 feet. However, once you reach as high as 20,000 feet, the aircraft is barely capable of climbing 500 feet per minute. The aircraft in this package, however, does not seem to follow the same stance, with the engines feeling overpowered in some cases. All models of the aircraft in this package have a takeoff speed of 124 knots at 20 degrees flaps, although the built-in Virtualcol co-pilots will always call rotate at 150, no matter the weight or variation of the aircraft. The service ceiling of all these aircraft is 41,000 feet, which does affect how it flies and will slow down at higher altitudes, meaning Virtualcol have defined certain limitations within its .air flight model. Virtualcol have also been able to sort the ground friction bug within FSX, and I have a feeling that it's also linked to the overpowered engines, where the power curves and power ratios will have a very powerful base, but relaxes at high throttle settings. Overall, this aircraft is definitely not going to win any awards in how realistic it flies, but as a common theme with this package, it will suit the new simmer that is learning to fly within FSX, or just someone who wants to load up the aircraft and fly without having to go through in-depth checklists. I've definitely enjoyed my time with the Virtualcol CRJ Series package. While it is far from high fidelity and in a way won't be comparable to the Airsoft CRJ in development, Virtualcol do provide for in variation. They remind you to 100 liveries across 4 models, and on an aircraft that does meet the expectation of the large range of flight simulars. As mentioned earlier, the developers are putting full support into this package, meaning that any issues are found and reported will be patched and ready for a future update. Being very light on the FPS also does help this package out. Many simmers do have issues with frames on certain systems, yet want to find a higher quality aircraft than the defaults included within the game, meaning Virtualcol will perfectly suit this group of people through this add-on. While this aircraft will not suit the simmer who likes their high fidelity aircraft, this will definitely be fare well with a new simmer or someone who just wants to spawn up and fly on their own. At only $24.90, this is also a good price for the CRJ Series Pack based on what you are getting included, and that is a good looking aircraft with light functionality across the board. They say you get what you pay for, and in this case it's $6.25 per aircraft model or 24 cents per texture included.